Hi, I'm Susie Winter. I'm part of a collaborative group called An Untold Story /Voices. We're a small group of like-minded, strong women who have had experience or been involved in street prostitution. And An Untold Story Voices is a sort of follow-up group from a book we wrote, a book we collaborated with myself and another 11 women. We challenge people's opinions on street sex work. We wish to challenge authority on their approach to working with working girls on the street. And so far, this year, we've been quite successful actually in abolishing the section 222, which was a legal thing put in place to make these women into criminals, not victims, which is what they are really.
Hi, my name's Amanda Hales and I'm part of a group from Hull called An Untold Story Voices. In 2014, Hull City Council decided to clean up the streets. They didn't want working girls in the red light district. They described it as a prostitute-free zone. They did this by giving girls banning orders, and they could take them to court and they were fined or put in prison for a couple of weeks. We didn't think that was fair. We thought, well, to tell you the truth, we got really angry about it. We had meetings with Hull City Council, we had meetings with the police, and they just thought of us as an annoying little group making a lot of noise. So we continued and we continued to fight until in 2020 we decided that enough was enough. So many women had been given these banning orders, and their lives are hard enough as it is without getting a banning order from the area sometimes of where they live. I once got shown a banning order by one of the women, and it had the outside marked, and then she pointed to the middle and said, "But I live there." So she was literally banned from her own home. So 2020 we decided to take Hull City Council to court, and that's what we did. And we wanted to work with Hull City Council and the police, but they left us no other option, and the only option was court. So in 2020, in July, they finally withdrew the section 222. They had signposts down in the red light district saying that prostitution is illegal when it isn't. Their aim was to punish the women, and I think that life punishes them enough without being targeted, persecuted and prosecuted by Hull City Council. These banning orders were given out by the police. It might have been a civil court they went to, but they needed a barrister. They was up in front of a judge. They faced fines and they faced imprisonment. To me, this isn't civil, this is the law. It went against all national guidelines with working girls and vulnerable women. It literally stomped all over those guidelines and disregarded them. There was only 7 people who complained about street prostitution, yet this was brought into effect and it affected 70, 80 women. Hull City Council was literally in the paper every other week, patting themselves on the back for the number of section 222s that had been handed out to numerous women each month. They shouldn't have been patting themselves on the back. We asked them to look at different approaches and they ignored us. We asked them to look at it again, they ignored us. So to have to take them to court was really scary. I wasn't fighting for myself. I'm not at risk of getting a section 222. I escaped. But it just wasn't fair to the women working the streets today, and that's why we fought so hard.
Absence of evidence is a set of photographs in relation to things that myself and my other colleagues within the group decided to do with Henry Bragg, a photography company from down London. We wanted to do a collaborative art piece to highlight places where women have experienced extreme violence, if not loss of life. This picture is a picture of a lady's arm, a tattoo, because in the long and short haul of things and working as a street-based prostitute, you know, you do get judged a lot. Other people judge you. But as far as this person's concerned, there's only one Almighty who could judge this person. It was taken just outside the lady's home in Hull.
This one was... This was a really renowned area. A lot of girls worked around this area, or I did myself. And it's just a doorway, because that's where we used to stand. It's that simple, you know, just simple pictures that tell really complex stories. Yeah, this is one of the women I was talking about. This woman was murdered by her boyfriend because she didn't take enough money back. So this woman was killed through domestic violence. And it affected all of us, you know, who were working at the time. Because it made us realise it's not just the punters who were dangerous. Again, this is just one of the areas in Hull. So many women worked around this area. We were literally a few feet away from each other. It was that packed. This is before it got moved to Hesel Road. This was more the town centre. That was the most prominent area of street prostitution in Hull at the time. And again, it's just where people stood, where women stood.
Oh yeah, that's at the back of Staples. It was a lady that had been a prostitute, a working lady for, I think, most of her life, at least since the late 70s. And I can't remember what year she got found in the skip, half alive, but she was very well known and lucky to be alive. And yeah, I think she'd done it most of her life.
Yeah, she had. I can remember this happened when I was working, you know, so like I said, that there was a lot of girls who died or nearly died. It was quite shocking. But if it weren't for one man who was skint, looking through a skip because he was skint, then she'd have died.
And she wouldn't have done it if she wasn't skint.
Yeah. This particular picture was taken around Great Thornton Street, Adelaide Street. The girls used to move round from what used to be Waterhouse Lane, the main stretch for working girls in Red Light District, to Cambridge Street, more towards Hesel Road. There was a lady found in the bushes quite close to the high-rise flats. I think this is for sure why this picture was taken. And like it says, somebody found her there.
Yeah, it got classed as an accidental overdose, drug overdose. But the whole thing, there wasn't. It just didn't feel right.
No, I didn't think it was right. I think she'd been moved, but
yeah,
I don't think they always look into it like they would if it was a, you know, not a working girl's death.
I think that's the point of everything, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, and in the local newspaper, the first thing they can put is prostitute.
Of course it is. It sells newspapers.
Yeah. Whereas if you worked in a cake shop, they won't put, lady who worked in a cake shop found dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Again, this is taken in the red light district in Hull. Like I said before, we didn't want them stereotypical pictures of, you know, prostitutes in red shoes or prostitutes leaning in cars. That wasn't our aim. We just wanted to show the reality of where it happens, and it happens in every city. And that's what we wanted to show in these photographs. You know, every area's got a phone box or a doorway or a disused building. And we wanted to show that this isn't just happening in Hull, this is happening all over.
Also, for the point of the picture, it looks like a cross, so may God bless all the women that we've lost along the way.
The quote at the bottom, I can remember being, I was working then, I was in a woman's house, and a neighbour 2 doors down had just been found murdered on Hesel Foreshore, and the social workers had to go and get her little boys. That was a really hard-hitting day, do you know, because it seemed to be one death after the next. She got killed by a punter. This is a photograph of where one girl was found. Again, another overdose. And I like this picture because it shows a little flower growing. You know, right amongst the weeds, there's a little flower growing. Yeah, this is graveyard, where a lot of women did business. A friend of ours who sadly has passed away now, she was attacked brutally in this graveyard.
Most street workers that get attacked don't even report it.
No.
Not even nowadays.
I've never reported anything.
No.
Didn't report it.
I don't think it's taken as it should be. I don't think it's dealt with as it should be. It's just dealt with like put to the bottom of the pile. Just another cold case.
I think it's also the stigma involved, you know, and then reliving it. It's all right reporting it to the police, but then when you've got to go into every single little detail,
yeah,
and to put it into words, you have to put it into your mind, and you're trying your hardest to stop all that pain, and so you don't want to keep telling your story. You don't want to go into such minute detail, and I you know, and then you tell your story, and then if it goes further, then you have to tell it again, and then if it goes to court, you have to tell it again, and then the stigma and the, well, it's what you do as a job. What do you expect? And I think this is really off-putting. But for me, I never reported being raped or sexually assaulted because I didn't want to form the words in my mind because that made them truly real, and I felt powerless. So I'd just rather use loads of drugs and push it down.
I don't know any street worker who's reported it and it has gone any further than that.
I often talked about working the streets. I felt like I was discarded by society, and I think that's true today as well. Do you know, these women have been discarded by society, or discarded like trash when their bodies have been dumped, and that's painful. Even now, that is still painful. Do you know, realising that my life worth was £20 and that I had a throwaway life.
So the collaboration artwork, we was going to put it in an art gallery where, you know, people like myself wouldn't go very often, wouldn't take family members. So because of COVID happened, we come up with the idea, like, it might be a great idea to put it out on the streets, i.e. billboards, bus stops, and a walking exhibition also. We decided that we'd do a silent 14 minutes silence to commemorate and remember all the women who either lost their lives or lost their, you know, long-time friends they've had through violence, through murder.
And people were coming round and looking at our pictures, and their silence joined our silence, and it becomes so powerful. The emotions of becoming a human wall, becoming a human gallery, it was really powerful because, like I said, we were telling our stories of girls who haven't survived and stories of girls who are surviving as well. That's a lot of girls. That's a lot of women. And the services are so flawed, so broken, that to get out of just one disadvantage is difficult, but when you've got multiple disadvantages, it can become impossible. And we wanted to show that there is hope. There is hope of escape, of literally exiting that world and into a brighter future.